Myself Rukvi Gamre. Today I am going to speak about the history of Greek philosophy. Basically a history of philosophy with the Greek sophists. So it was about the Soratic period, and the term before it was the pre-Soratic, but now we are going to talk about the Soratic period. So the word sophist, it means a wise man who began to travel along the cities, teaching a rhetorical skills. And this the panorama has changed a lot. I mean, the democracy of the Greek cities, it makes it desirable to acquire a skill. So the sophists, they began to wonder how a man should behave. The sophists were specialized in the music, athletics, mathematics, the music and rhetorics, and they gave this information and started teaching this to every statesman and the nobilities. They started teaching it very predominantly. As the Sophists, they were not the actual true believers of the myths used in the ancient Greeks. They were actually using this shortly for just the reference or their quotations, or just to take it down as a tales for their own use. As they were the true secular atheists, they partly believed, or maybe we can say they didn't even believe in anything like gods or anything. So we can say that they believed in a term which is might makes right. Might makes right, as they were the atheists. So, and it is about the very cynical, they were very cynical about the religions and all the traditions and rituals which were used in the ancient Greece. In 5th century BCE, the Protagoras, he was one of the oldest sophists known, and he was one of the intellectuals who were traveling along the states and they were teaching the young nobilities. He was very expert in the subjects like rhetorics and other related subjects. So if we talk about his philosophy, he conducted a term called as relativism. And this is the belief that there is no final objective truth, and he was regarded as the first known relativist in the Western cultures. He adopted many moral ideas and he had an agnostic attitude over the belief of the gods and about concerning much more about the gods. He also gave a statement that man is a measure of all things, like whatever an individual deems of. The truth is actual a true thing, and the concept of individual relativity, that was a typical for a time, and the universe was based on something objective and something very serious. In 483 and 375 BC, there came another sophist called as the Gorgias. So he was a rhetorician and who was a former first generation sophist. Like others, the sophists were like a migrants. He was also a migrant, and he traveled along the different cities of the Greece by giving some information and teaching the nobilities. 483 to 375 BC, there came another sophist called as the Gorgias. So he was a rhetorician who gave a former first generation of sophists. Like other sophists, he was also a migrant and itinerant, and he traveled along the different cities of the Greek by giving the nobles the teachings, and also he gave up public exabilities of his skills and of his preachings, and he had a great performance. That time his philosophy was considered as very controversial philosophy, and his theories and his preachings, his skills were very exclusive and very confusing, and also his propositions were not actually good. It was not good in the sense it was more like a sarcastic, or it was very playful. The Gorgias, he was also called as a nihilist. That was because few scholars who interpreted on his theses that about the non-existence. About non-existence in the sense he was against the non-existence of anything that that was said by himself, and people actually disagreed this whole thing about non-existence because Gorgias himself propounded it, and that was said by himself, and later on it turned out to be a nihilist for everyone. Then came the Thrasymachos. He was another Greek sophist from 459 C to 400 BC. So he was actually known as a character in the Republic 1 of the Plato. So he claimed that the justice is the advantage of a stronger, and with the injustice, he said that it is it is on a large enough scale as if it can be more stronger, more free, and the more master than the justice. Sophists were like a migrants. He was also a migrant, and he traveled along the different cities of the Greece by giving some information and teaching the nobilities. 483 to 375 BC, there came another sophist called as a Gorgias. So he was a rhetorician who gave a former first generation of sophists. Like other sophists, he was also a migrant and itinerant, and he traveled along the different cities of the Greek by giving the nobles the teachings, and also he gave up public exabilities of his skills and of his preachings, and he had a great performance. That time his philosophy was considered as very controversial philosophy, and his theories and his preachings, his skills were very exclusive and very confusing, and also his propositions were not actually good. It was not good in the sense it was more like a sarcastic, or it was very playful. The Gorgias, he was also called as a nihilist. That was because few scholars who interpreted on his theses that about the non-existence. About non-existence in the sense he was against the non-existence of anything that that was said by himself, and people actually disagreed this whole thing about non-existence because Gorgias himself propounded it, and that was said by himself, and later on it turned out to be a nihilist for everyone. Then came the Thrasymachos. He was another Greek sophist from 459 C to 400 BC. So he was actually known as a character in the Republic 1 of the Plato. So he claimed that the justice is the advantage of a stronger, and with the injustice, he said that it is on a large enough scale as if it can be more stronger, more free, and the more master than the justice.
Hello sir, my name is Aniket Badal Singh Rajput. I am from second group, subgroup first. As my friend Ruby explained the history of philosophy, the Greek sophist and the sacred, and the protagons, she would like to introduce her points in the point of view by their own words and the cognitive map as she wants to create. So my points are here. Gorgias. Gorgias was a great philosopher at the time of the 483 to 357 BC. Was an ancient Greek sophist, pre-Socratic philosophers, and a rhetorician who was a native of Leontians in Sikis, along with the protagons. He forms the first generation of a sophists. Several doxograph reports that he was a pupil of Empedocles, although he would like to only have been a few years younger. He is one of the most younger philosopher at the time of the 483 BC. Physical and intellectual combat compared at the section of at the science at the time of 449 Ds to 485 BCs. Georgians admit under the Socrates cross examination that while the rhetorician give people the power of the world, they are not instructions of the morality. Gorgias does not deny that his student might use their skill for immortal process, but he says that teachers cannot be held responsible for that. So he like to introduce her point of view section from the sources of the teachers. The teacher does not responsible for the life that the student held in the future. He likes to say the teachers teach you to each and every student, but it's power. It is the power that the student have to take on the from teacher. What should he would like to take in the future? What should he run in the future? So that's a debate about the rhetorician. He will explain some theories in which he includes a debate about the rhetorics, the pitiful Thranan, the Cynical critical philosophies, a Socrates debate with himself. Philosophy is a bitter drop, the judgment and the naked soul. He liked to introduce some point section. He liked to introduce some definition in which the different eras are gone, and he's become the most of the famous at the point of view there. He introduced the three step that nothing exists, anything exists, and in communication. Nothing exists. As a pure soul, we pray for the universal power. Some people just say that the power doesn't exist, but in our point of view we believe that we are here, we are safe now from the because of that power. We believe something is exist around us, something is protect around us, so that's the power. And another people says anything exists, and anything exists. He's the believer of the power that they are helps to us, they are protect, they are mortal. And in the another point of section, the third step that he explained in communicated. In communicate, it is the best way when we tries to introduce our feeling, when we speak our internal feelings to another person and get relief from the tension that we suffers from that. When the patient thinking about the external injuries, but here internal injuries are not here until he just speak about the he's in this pain that he just run from the lots of year. He wants to take medical assignment, medical recounseling about the situation that he would face at the time. So it is the concept of the mind, and it's not a real. Reality cannot be false. Reality exists. It's true. It is mortal. It cannot be designated. It cannot be refinished. It cannot be destroyed by the another voice, strong voice. There is a thought between the reality and the comparison are correspond. He also explained some points of speech. Speech is a communicator, and not only the words that we speak. It is the voice of the speaker to the public voice. Speech are there are different types of speech that we introduce at the last section, where we have this type of speech. But here at that where in the concept of philosophy, the speech might be the speech might be not from the single person. It is the voice of the one person that he explained the remaining thoughts of the people to the rest of the world. It includes the word, consequences, the power of the wisdom addressed to the speaker. Speeches is the adductions of the speech. Justice, it is the entrance of the storm. Genealogy on a mortal, and it's also the catching the emotions. He also includes some theoretical parts on the justice. It's not a training, goes to the lower steps. He also included some points that explain the witness against the law, the concept of the ill and the conditions, the views of the appearance. We all have the nature's pour on the science. We just born with the hidden talent that the God gifted to us. That the point of view sections of Georges explained here. He also written some books at the eras. He's become the most famous writer at the time of the 483 to 357 BCs. So it's my points from the history of philosophy. I hope I will try to explain it in my point of view. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
So I am here again to talk about the ancient Greek philosophy. As my all of the friends have told you already about the sophists, the Georgians, the Protagons, the Predices, Antiphons, and relativism, and etc. etc. I'm just came here to explain you about the methods of the Socratics. So the first method of the Socratic is like clarification. Like why are you asking? Why are you asking? Then what do you mean to say? What do you mean to say about when you are talking about this? Like, can you explain this topic? Can you explain this? Like, then the second part is challenging the assumption. Like, is there any different point? Like, you are challenging the concept, you are challenging the clarification. What assumptions here we are making, what assumptions we are talking about. Then the third part is evidence and reasoning. Like, you are asking the for evidence for that clarification, and can you give us example in support of your reason. Then the fourth part is alternative viewpoint, and then affection. Like, is there any other alternative viewpoint about this, and then how would this affect? Then the fifth part of this method is like challenging the question, in which like, what do you think the most important part of your opinion or of your conspect? Like, they keep on asking and asking and asking for you on your assumptions or pre-assumptions that you have made over here. Basically, Socratic method is like searching for the truth. It's not a debate, and it's not a rhetoric method. Like, it's not the two people are having different thoughts. It's like basically the finding mistakes on a particular person's thought, or a particular person's imagination or assumption. It's like basically, it's basically like I can give you an example on this. Like, basically, if you keep on talking to a children, you'll get your answer on this. You'll understand this Socratic method. Like, if you tell a children that baby, don't touch that fire, he will ask you why. Then you will tell him that, yeah, it's hot, so don't touch it. Then he again asks you that why it is hot. Then you tell him that because it's hot, that's it. And you are not. And you know about sophists. Like, sophists are the one who is basically success oriented. They don't believe in justice, they don't believe in truth, they don't even give a damn about finding truth or something. They are basically just success oriented. So about them, there is a thought that they are the basically one who believes in flat earth. They are the flat earth believer. So it's like, whatever they see, whatever they've watched from their eyes, or they have whatever they are having proof in front of them, that's the only thing for them, that's the only justice, that's the only truth, and that's the only success in front of them. So basically, this is the main difference between Socratic and Sophistic. Like, Socratics are asking for the question again and again, a reason why. But in Sophists, there is no. They just ask for particular proof. That's it. Nothing else. So coming to the end, like Socrates was a very great philosopher from the Western philosophy. And his philosophy gives us his philosophy provides us many pathways to improve in ourselves, improve in our thoughts, and finding many questions, reasons, and their answers in our daily life, in our routine, and many other suggestions in our life. It's this theory, but what I think about this philosophy and this theory, it's like, is basically, it's if a teacher using this philosophy, this method, it's harmless to the student, because teachers keeps on thinking for the mistake of the student. He keeps on searching for the mistake, that when the student is going to make a mistake. And if a teacher finds a mistake in a student in front of whole class, then then student generates a feeling, feeling of what to say, how can I express in this word, like, student just generate a feeling, like exposing in front of all the students that, yeah, he is not having a proper knowledge. And it's a possibilities of feeling ridiculous and feeling humiliated in front of whole class. So what I suggest about this sophistication and this Socratic philosophy is like, we should not use this method in teaching, because this is not beneficial for students, because you're searching for the mistakes in a learner. And so that's all from this topic. Thank you.